there, everyone. This is Tammy with Country Girls Tumblers. Today we're going to bring a new tumbler to you. It's made out of a matte vinyl, and it's going to have a little surprise on it, so it's not just a matte. There's a hidden thing on there. So what we need to do is prep our tumbler. And this is the vinyl that we're going to use. It's like a world map, and it's on removable vinyl. And what we're doing here is we are trimming up this vinyl to the length of the tumbler. And we're just going to trim that off all the way across. And we're going to make sure, it lines up good. And once we see that it lines up and it fits the way that we want to, we're going to trim off some of the extra overlap, and we're going to peel back the backing off of this vinyl. You want to peel it back and trim that up. Trim the backing off, and you want to replace that so that you can double check, make sure the alignment's good. And once you verify that, you can take that backing off and stick it to your tumbler. And you can scrub this down with your hand, or you can use any kind of tool to get some pressure on it. And you walk off the backing. So you're doing it, putting it on a little piece at a time. Once we get that on, we're going to take, this is a piece of painter's tape that I used on another tumbler. We're just going to place that down so we'll have something straight to cut against. And you can see here I'm trying to figure out which direction I actually need to do this. So I'm thinking I need to cut on the left side, but whenever I actually look at it and once I start cutting, I realize I'm on the wrong side. I need to move my tape over and cut about middle ways of where this tape is right now. So here we are, we take it up and we're readjusting that. There's my little girl, Harley. She's my little sidekick. She's the sweetest girl. She's 7 years old. Usually she's up in my lap. Here we are. We're cutting down this vinyl, and we're putting enough pressure on there that we cut through both layers of this vinyl. And we can pull up the edge of this vinyl, and here we are taking off the overlap. And here we're pulling off that layer of vinyl, that lower layer of vinyl. So that was the overlap on the bottom side. And we'll gently take off this painter's tape, and then we'll work the edge of that vinyl back down to where it meets up, so there's no real crease. You see me pulling that up a little bit to work those bubbles out. Really pressing that down. Getting the bubbles from that little area out. Once we're happy with that, we're going to take our trimmer. And this I got off of Amazon, I think. And you just put your cup down, and depending upon how much of the stainless steel you want to show, you can adjust that blade. So me, I have that on the first little setting, and we're just going to walk that tumbler around against that blade, and you saw how easy that was to pull off, and it's super straight. So we're going to do that to the top and the bottom. Y'all, I can't cut a straight line, so this is a wonderful little gadget. And this little stick that's standing up on the side, that is actually you can put a pin in it, and a pen or a pencil, and you can use it to mark your straight line. Now that we've got that, we're going to go in with some Aleene's, tack it over and over, and I have cut out these footsteps on a piece of removable vinyl. And we're going to take this Aleene's, and we're going to go in each one of these footsteps. And we're going to get you don't have to have a very thick layer of this, because we're actually going to do 2 layers of the Aleene's tacket. We're just using a medium-sized brush. You see me just going through and dabbing. Here I am checking little areas, make sure all of it's got some glue in it. And with that being so wide, you don't have to be very picky about where it goes. Now this is from Glitter Chimp. This is a thermal mica powder. And this is the part that I said it'll be a surprise. So what we want to do is, now that the Aleene's tacket over and over is dry, we're just going to take some of this mica powder and we're going to lay it down on top of that Aleene's. You want to get a fairly decent coat. You're going to go all the way through those footsteps. And you see I'm not using very much at all. But once you get that down and you get it all the way from one end to the other, the way that you want it, what you can do is you can just burnish this in a little more, and then wipe away all the excess. Here I am burnishing it down, making sure it's on that glue. We're going to let this sit a few minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll repeat that same step. So here we are with the Aleene's. We're going to go back over these footsteps and back over this thermal mica powder, which is called Power, and you can get it from Glitter Chimp. And I will actually put I'll put my link in the coupon code in the description, and that way if you want to try this, then you can go on and use my coupon code, and that'll save you 10% on your order. My little Harley, you can see her where my knees are. She likes to be laying right up on me, which I don't mind a bit. Here we are, we're going back in with that power. And we're gonna really tap this in. Get it adhered real good to that tacket. And once we do that, here again, we're going to go through and we are going to get rid of any of that excess powder, really burnish it in. Now that that's dried, we're going to go and slowly take off this removable vinyl to expose those steps. You want to be real gentle with taking this off so that you don't pull up that glue. And once we've got that up, what I didn't show, you can see these footsteps right here. Now what I did not show, and I'm sorry, you can watch my hand and you'll see those footsteps disappearing. What I didn't show is I put a real thin layer of epoxy on here. I say thin, it was about 20 milliliters that I put on part A and part B of epoxy, tumbler epoxy. And then I went in and I cut this vinyl that says live, love, and travel. Once we got that on our tumbler, what we're doing here is we're going in with our polyacrylic, and we're actually going to put the polyacrylic, I put it all over the tumbler, you don't have to, but this polyacrylic is going to help seal in this vinyl so that there's no issues with it lifting or the epoxy getting up underneath it and causing distortion on your vinyl. So this helps really lock that in. Once we put that on, it doesn't take very long for that to dry. I do it in the afternoons whenever I get home from work, so it actually winds up drying overnight. But on average about an hour, and that'll be good and dry. And once that's dried, we're going to go in with 2 more layers of epoxy. I only show one on this video, but we actually go in with 2, and that'll give us a good a good coat. Now here is the tumbler epoxy that we're going to be using, and if I can find the link, I'll link it below. So what I did is, you see, I've got a lot here, but I'm actually working on like 7, 8, 9. I think I was working on 9 tumblers at one time. So I mixed up a lot of epoxy. But it's 1-to-1 ratio. You mix 3 to 4 minutes. And here we are, we're putting on the cup. And if you see the cup to the left, we actually did a tutorial on that one before, and it looked too plain, so I added a sea turtle with a holographic printable vinyl. But here we are, we're going to put on about 20 milliliters of epoxy on this cup. And you see me going from the bottom to the top, moving that epoxy. The reason why I'm doing that is so that as I'm pushing the epoxy up, I have a lot less epoxy going inside of the cup than if you was to pull from the top to the bottom. Whenever I first started doing cups, I was going from the top to the bottom and really getting a buildup of epoxy on the inside of my cups. And watching Summer from Little Lee and Rose, she actually had said something about going from the bottom to the top in order to get that smoother finish. And once we've done 2 coats, this is our tumbler. I wasn't able to show the dark to the clear because it's 110 outside here,